All right, free radicals, welcome back. My name is Dave, and this is the Radical Independent. Thanks for sticking with me. I know, I'm losing subscribers. I check my app every day, and I'm just like, wow. Way to go, Dave. Good work. For those of you who are sticking with me, I appreciate that. I am a moody person. I'll be honest with you. I was having a discussion with a top Tulsi supporter yesterday. And I won't mention any names. She's really great on Twitter, and she writes articles, and she's sharp. She's got a legal mind. So, I'm talking with somebody who just, again, is adding some great stuff to the conversation. And I told her, I said, there are days, yesterday, I was really, after that debate, it's not that I got, vehemently anti-Bernie. It's just that you see somebody in your midst and you know how much better they are, and they're better for the country, and they would bring people together, and they don't scream, and they're not just angry, and it's like, I actually did a Bernie Sanders impersonation, and she thought it was pretty funny, but I can just do Bernie impersonations and get like a wig or something. I mean, I already got the hairline here to maybe do Bernie. But the point being is, I want the best for the country. And Tulsi is the best for the country. She just is. I mean, we can disagree on certain policy issues and how she handles it, but the way she would bring people together, and her measured tone and her experience, her resume, it would be a game changer. Let's put it this way. This video here with Cavuto is very interesting because Neil Cavuto asks her a question and presses her a little bit on Bernie and the fact that Bernie appears a little extreme to some people. And I don't know if Bernie's extreme, but I think Bernie tries to say nothing's radical and nothing's extreme. But you just get the sense when you listen to Bernie Sanders that he's the revolutionary leader, and he might be a little too extreme for many Americans. And his presentation, I mentioned his age the other day, and Cavuto kind of, he basically, let's listen. He more or less echoes some of my concerns, and Tulsi gives a very interesting answer here. So let's listen to what Cavuto says.
That the fear is Bernie Sanders' views are so out of the mainstream, so out of touch. He becomes the nominee. There's no way in heck he would become president. Do you agree with that, or would you be supporting any one of those others if they get the nomination?
Well, first of all, I'm still running for president, and that's exactly where I'm focused. I think the thing that scares folks is that someone like Bernie Sanders, someone like myself, I don't agree with all of Bernie Sanders' positions on things. I do agree with some, but I think what's clear is that we don't march to the beat of the warmongering foreign policy establishment in Washington or the Democratic powerful elite. This is really about putting the interests of the American people first and really working to address those challenges and bringing the different ideas that we all have as Americans to the forefront, whether they are Democrat or Republican or independent ideas, saying we've got to put country first because people are suffering and struggling and being left behind so long as politicians in Washington are playing games with their lives.
All right, so that's the first part of her answer. She doesn't agree with Bernie, but she aligns with Bernie on the idea that the establishment is against a bunch of people. And Bernie, at his best, isn't going along with the establishment when it comes to Russiagate, which he does now. I mean, they bought full in on this because they want that neoliberal voting base to consider them. So they're okay with, yes, Putin's bad, even though the media has started the drumbeat that, of course, Russia is helping Bernie. Russia, of course, was helping Tulsi, even though if Russia was helping Tulsi so much, why is Tulsi, hovering around 2 or 3% nationally? Which, by the way, she's right neck and neck with like Tom Steyer, who is still in this race, who has a ton of money. So it begs the question about the fact that she should have been on the debate stage the other night. She would have added some aloha to that chaos. Anyway, Cavuto presses on here, and it's really interesting what he says next and how Tulsi answers the question.
You know, some people look at Bernie Sanders as he's too old, too extreme, and that if he ran and got the nomination, he'd need to seek out somebody young, maybe a woman, someone whose views are not quite to that extreme. That's you.
I love how Cavuto this is a good anchor. I don't watch Cavuto, but here's somebody who kind of understands language and just at times just is very straightforward and says, it's you, Tulsi. And Tulsi, of course, is going to answer this, and it's really good.
I know you're trying to break news right now here, Neil.
No. Are you kidding? I just look at stocks. So take stock of that. What do you think?
I am. Bernie is a friend, but I'm very focused on doing exactly what we're doing, carrying this message that I'm sharing with you and your viewers here today.
That would moderate what seems an extreme ticket, right?
Potentially so.
Potentially so. Okay, now I'm excited because I realize that it's a real long shot that Tulsi Gabbard has, a chance to win this nomination. She's still in it. She needs to start to get some delegates. It's going to be a rough go. She's probably going to get some delegates. I'm hoping she will. I know she's got a good chance up in Maine. I'm not sure about South Carolina, maybe. But a lot of these more mainstream states like mine, even though I mailed in my ballot for Tulsi, yesterday or the day before, I did so because I love Tulsi Gabbard. Do I think she's going to win Florida? No. This is a Bloomberg Biden state, and I don't even think Bernie's going to do all that well in Florida. He might, but, again, there are a lot of states like that. Now, does this give me a little bit of excitement and hope that, the fact that she said potentially so shows that she's politically savvy, and she's agreeing with Cavuto here. Cavuto says, hey, this is you. You're the one that could bring youth, energy, excitement, some moderation on some issues. Certainly just her demeanor and her tone would be so much more welcome in a Sanders candidacy. And again, you've got somebody who has got foreign policy chops, who I believe is actually maybe a little bit more knowledgeable when it comes to foreign policy than Bernie Sanders. I just think she is. Or let me put it this way. Her takes on things are so much better. On Bolivia, unquestionably, she came out, even though, the Primo Nut Job channel, they wanted her to come out and say, hey, hurry up on Bolivia. And when she released the statement, she said, yeah, it was definitely a coup. Whereas Sanders and everybody else in the progressive media said, hey, it looks a lot like a coup. I'm not saying it's a coup, but it looks like a coup. Tulsi Gabbard was like, yeah, it looks like we're in the midst of a coup in Bolivia. I bring that up again because I just think she's so much better on foreign policy. And like this answer where she says potentially so, potentially, there's potential. Now, was this what do they call that, where you give something away? I don't think Tulsi was giving anything away here. I don't think, if you want to read something into it, I think she was honestly answering a question, a very good question posed by Cavuto. And rather than, being trapped or continue to echo this, hey, I'm running, and yes, I would continue to support Tulsi Gabbard running for president because her ideas need to be considered if she were to ever be a VP for Bernie Sanders. Now, do I think Bernie is going to choose her for VP? I don't. I think he's going to make a horrendous mistake and pick somebody from neoliberal land who can quote-unquote balance his ticket more. Whereas I think Tulsi balances the ticket enough and doesn't betray those anti-establishment undercurrents, those things that people are really, really excited about. People are not excited about Bloomberg, okay? They're not. I mean, he's buying his way in, and he's actually manufacturing excitement. You've heard about manufacturing consent. I mean, this has gone to an extreme. People are not excited about Joe Biden. They're not excited about the 3 old white men. But here's the thing. Tulsi Gabbard could bring excitement and enough balance to this ticket where the people on the progressive left would be happy, would still be really happy. I mean, some may object to Tulsi. The neoliberals are the ones that would really take issue with Tulsi because she's not buying Russiagate. She's not buying in. Bernie is buying in. She's not. So that's where the rub is. Bernie is probably going to pick a fellow Russiagator, somebody like Ro Khanna, somebody like AOC, who I'm not sure, is she old enough to be VP? I know she's not old enough to be president. I don't know what the rules are on VP, but that to me would be a complete sellout and disaster. That would be the equivalence of, honestly, George H.W. Bush picking Dan Quayle. Seriously, that's what that would be like in a different way. So Tulsi clearly would be the best VP. If she doesn't win this outright, she would be the best VP. Again, I cast my vote for Tulsi. I am with Tulsi until she decides not to be in this anymore. But this is some really interesting dialogue between her and Cavuto. And it shows that, yeah, you know, it would be better if Bernie had me alongside because I bring some balance and some aloha to that ticket, and it really needs it. And if Bernie picks somebody who's, again, going to be an attack dog, because Bernie is already an attack dog, so to have 2 attack dogs, typically the VP ends up being the attack dog, and the president or the presidential candidate is more like above the fray. You know, like Obama had Biden. Biden went out there and did all the, the attacking, and Obama kept aloof and above it and so forth. And typically that's the way presidential campaigns go. I mean, Dick Cheney was the attack dog, and the entire knowledge base for Pence, I don't know. Trump was the attack dog. See, that's the difference now, is that the president, the top candidate, ends up being the attack dog, and the VP is there to, agree and be a yes man. So Tulsi, she's a little headstrong, so maybe that might be not what Bernie wants. Maybe Bernie wants a wallflower who doesn't really speak up, whereas Tulsi is not a wallflower. But she would still bring balance, and she would bring a coalition of folks, independents, libertarians, a few Green Party folks. It'd be a very hard ticket to ignore. Be a very hard ticket to ignore, and it would certainly it would produce some goodwill between me and Bernie Sanders right now, because I am not liking Bernie Sanders right now. So that might change, because things change in politics all the time, and then your choices become clearer. And then again, I hate to say this, but you've got to pick the lesser of the two, and hopefully we don't have to use the word evil. I don't say that Bernie Sanders is evil, but I do say he's a capitulator. And that capitulation can create an environment where evil again ends up winning. And so let's hope that that doesn't happen. I'd love to see, well, I'm not going to say I'd love to see a Bernie Tulsi ticket. I'd love to see Tulsi all of a sudden catch fire, because everyone looks at this field and goes, what were we thinking? After that last debate, didn't you feel that way? What are we thinking? And I lumped Bernie in with everyone because I didn't like the debate. I didn't like what he had to say. I didn't like anything. And I think, if you're looking at it from a conspiracy point of view, the DNC wants the chaos. They want to make it seem like it's all bad, and I'm just going to pick a name that we can rely on, like a Biden, or heaven forbid, like a Mayor Pete, or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Chaos, I think, helps an establishment candidate, because then people will say, well, Bernie's creating this chaos. This shouldn't be this crazy circus. It should just be, we've got Trump, so we don't want more of Trump. We want something that's, opposed to Trump. Well, you had your chance. You got to see Tulsi at least for a little while, and the Democrats don't want Tulsi. So that would be another stumbling block that the DNC may throw in front of Bernie Sanders and say, "Nuh-uh, you can't select her. You can't. You gotten this far because you kind of bent to our will to some degree. But if you pick her, the one that went hard against Hillary, the one who's suing Hillary, the one who's suing Google, and Google's going to create algorithms to promote our candidate more than Trump, okay? But you've got to play by our rules." There's so much at stake. That's why we need a third party, like a viable third party. And we've got them. We've got the Libertarians and the Greens. We've got viable third parties. We need people with the guts, the cojones, to actually run in those parties and to create a wildfire grassroots movement, something outside of this two-party nightmare. And that's why you have to worry about this and play by these rules, and it creates so many roadblocks to actually getting things done. But anyway, this conversation was pretty interesting. And it gives me hope that at least Tulsi understands this. I just don't think Bernie understands it, and I don't think his surrogates understand it. We shall see. We shall see. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to stay subscribed, people. Stay subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. And if you're just magically being unsubscribed, because that could be happening, but my guess is, I've made some enemies doing this, and obviously those people are starting to speak with their mouse, and I get that. It's just, anyway. You can also check me out over on Rockfin too. I did do a pretty nasty video about Bernie Sanders yesterday, but I'm keeping it up there. It's how I feel right now. Again, it might change, but right now, not so much. All right, see you soon. Sorry about the rambling.